Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Howzit Expats webinar. This is the second webinar for the United Kingdom community. Today is the 17th of September 2025. If you are watching this webinar from the comfort of your home, I hope you find value in it, and thank you to all our presenters and all our speakers for this evening. Last night, in fact, we had the third webinar in Ireland. Just to say, this is actually the last live webinar that we'll be having. We will be pre-recording them in future, just to accommodate more people in terms of being able to attend, and we'll just publish them on a certain day. All right, so let's kick off right away. Just to introduce myself, Lamont Kritzinger is my name. For those of you that I haven't met, I am the founder of Howzit Expats, and I'm a global financial coach. Just to mention, these webinars are recorded, and also the information provided is information only and not advice as such. The purpose of Howzit Expats, if you haven't read up much about what we're doing, is really helping and supporting the South African expats worldwide. Not only do we want them to survive in their new countries, in their new home countries, we want them to thrive. And that's what we're trying to do and try to support with. So we'll start with the serious stuff, which is a lucky draw. We're going to do this at the end of the webinar, but just to tell you how this works, this is our Shorshaloza wheel. We're going to spin it twice a little bit later. You see we have 8 prizes there, the 8 segments on the wheel, ranging from memberships, 50% of memberships, mystery prizes, and then package prizes, advertising packages, a whole lot there. These are our mystery prizes. Thank you to all our sponsors. We have our coaching session by Colleen Quist, our life coach from Johannesburg. We have a complimentary SARS tax immigration from SA UK Tax. We have Ebden Eats voucher. They sell amazing goodies, milk tarts and rusks and all sorts of things like that. And then we have keyrings, SA UK keyrings, and we have a heritage beanie, color of your choice from UKD, and we have UKD as one of our 60-second speakers this evening. So just how it works, if you win a mystery prize, you actually choose one of those prizes. This is how the draw will work. A little bit later, you're going to have to be fast on the button and type some words in the chat. This evening, typed them. So number 1 will be number 1, number 2, etc., etc. All right, so fingers on the button. If you can get ready, you've got to type in the words, sorry, All Blacks. Sorry, All Blacks. If you can do that quickly. We're not really that sorry, but we thought this was appropriate given the fantastic drumming that we gave the All Blacks the last weekend. So sorry, All Blacks. All right, so we'll come back to the draw a little bit later. So just quickly a recap of Howzit United Kingdom. The vision is to be the go-to website for South Africans living and working in the United Kingdom. It's focused on well-being being the primary objective, wanting all South Africans to thrive in the UK. We have a website in the UK. We focus very much on our webinars and have them on the front page in terms of the next dates. We're very focused on events, on community, what's happening in the community, on supporting businesses, local businesses, as you'll see tonight as well. We have some packages available for folk that want to advertise. We've actually got free advertising packages as well, and then paid advertising packages, right up to our homepage advertising package. We use shared directory, so you can see where it is in the UK, whether it's a community or a business. That's all available. That just gives you a little sense of what it looks like. You can see, in fact, one of the events we're going to talk about tonight is on our events page there, the big Bristol Braai, 27th of September. And this is what we're trying to do. So when South Africans arrive in the UK, they have one place where they can essentially go and see what's happening in the whole of the UK, with the communities that they can join and where is everything happening. One of the membership benefits is to be able to ask experts. So when we have finalized our agenda for a webinar, you are able to ask the expert any question through our website. This is all free of charge, and it comes through to us. We will ensure that those questions are answered on those topics. We also have thought packages available for companies and those people that would like to talk at our webinars, post articles, post podcasts, and etc. So, all right, quite a lot happening in terms of the community. So we encourage you to become members. There are lots of benefits there. I won't go through them one by one, and we are busy growing the community. Get on to the business of tonight, which is our monthly community webinar in the UK. So just to let you know, we have a standardized agenda. We normally have 2 financial well-being topics, and then we have what we call our anchor topics, which is 3 specific topics that we always cover. I'll first tell you what the well-being topics are for this evening. The first well-being topic is around pension and RA funds in South Africa. There's a significant change that happened in September last year in South Africa around pension funds, and I'm going to be talking about that myself this evening. And then the second topic is around insurance policies. Do insurance policies in South Africa pay out overseas or not? And what are the key differences? And I'll be presenting on this evening. So our anchor topics in every webinar are these 3 topics. The second one is wellness by Colleen Quist. And then we have an Ubuntu slot, which is all around integrating into the community where we are. So this is the UK, so the integration here being between South Africans and the UK community being the key focus. So we've got a slot on that this evening. All right, you can also vote for your favorite topic. There you can see potential topics. If you'd like to hear one of those topics specifically, you can just go online and vote for them, and we will present the topics with the highest number of votes. All right, so you actually have a say in what we present in these webinars going forward. Wellbeing topic 1. Do you still have a pension RA funds in South Africa? Impact regulatory changes, as I said, in 2024. And top tech tips coming after that, et cetera, et cetera. So you can have a look there. I won't go through the whole agenda right now. You can just see that for yourself. So let's get on to the first topic and start right away. Financial well-being topic number 1. My first jobs, many years ago, I heard of a lady that had been working there for a long time in this company, and then all of a sudden, I heard that she had resigned. And I was wondering why she had resigned. And a while back, months later, I heard she joined the company again. And I thought that was a very strange course of events. And only later, actually much later, did I realize that that was somebody that I think resigned to be able to get their retirement fund. They needed their pension funds. That was quite important to them. At that stage, they needed access to funds. That was what happening. In fact, a lot of people in South Africa have done that. So the government have National Treasury, in fact, and this information that I'm going to share with you is from the National Treasury in South Africa. They decided, well, they probably need to do something about that, and given the state of the economy, given the fact that there's low savings, given the fact that there's high unemployment, and when people lose their jobs as well, it's not that easy to find another job, and people have hardships, that they wanted to have significant reform in the retirement provision system in South Africa. And what they decided on was this thing called a 2-pot system of retirement. Now, it should actually be called a 3-pot system of retirement, as you'll see in a second, but a 2-pot system of retirement between savings, which you can utilize, and pension, which you can't utilize short-term, only for long-term. Okay, so this came into effect. I'm going to just explain in a couple of slides how this works. This came into effect 1st of September 2024. And the reason this has been added on the Howzit Expats agenda is it does actually impact expats. And I'll explain that in a second. All right, so let's just take an example of somebody in South Africa who was in South Africa on the 1st of September, end of August last year. The first thing the government and put it in the savings pot, okay, so that there could be some money that could always, for everybody, be accessed in the short term. All right, so they took up to 10% of 30,000. All right, so there's a little example on the top left there. I won't go through the detail, but essentially the maximum that was taken out of anybody's pension fund would be 30,000. And what was left, they called a vesting pot, a vesting component. That's why I say it's actually three pots. It's what's vesting. So what was always there, less what they took out and put in the savings, and then what's now in the savings, number two, and now what's in the pension pot, the new pension pot. Let's call it the new pension pot, post 1st of September. All right, so that's just at a very high level. So if you can just imagine the government going and saying, everybody's now got a pension fund, those who had, taking a little bit of money out of it to put some in savings, and it's only that portion that you can access. All right, so how does it actually work after 1st of September? Here's an example. So let's say somebody has 900 rands worth of retirement savings contributions every month in South Africa. So what's simply happening now is a third is going into the savings pot, 300 of the 900, and 2/3 is going into the pensions pot. And the savings pot, you can actually access only once a year, and you can take everything in the savings pot, but a minimum of 2,000 Rand, and it's taxed at your marginal rate of tax. So it's quite a penal rate, taxation rate, but that's because somebody's using it short term because it's not really retirement savings. All right, so in short, from 1 September in South Africa, you're starting to save money and something for retirement. Something's going to the savings account, and you can actually now access that. And if you've been the media quite closely seen the billions and billions and billions of rands that have actually been withdrawn from savings accounts, and people have paid that tax. So there's actually been quite an artificial increase in government revenue through taxation because of just this, because of the amounts that are so significant. So that 10% or 30,000 maximum that they took in September. Just a couple of Q&As here from the Treasury website that I've included. Is that going to, on the 1st of September, there's an amount that they take out of your vested pot and put it in your savings pot, never again. Will the savings component earn interest? Yes, whatever's in the savings component earns interest, depending on how long it's invested, of course. Is there maximum withdrawal amount or limit in the savings pot? No. You can take everything out of your savings pot, but you must take more than 2,000. And if it's less than 2,000, you've got to wait until it's 2,000. And withdrawals are permitted once per tax year. So, as I said before, it's quite a penal rate of tax, but in case of an emergency, you can actually get some of your retirement funds at least, where in the past you had to resign, as I told you the story of the lady who I worked with. Is not made. No, you don't have to make any withdrawal out of your savings pot. Keep your money for retirement, which is intended. So you don't have to make anything, any withdrawal out of your savings pot. If you look at the retirement pot, okay, now it's a lot stricter than before because this is now your proper retirement pot, savings excluded. No access before retirement. There are exceptions, ill health and certain and other sort of critical exceptions, but you can't. And at retirement, that is the portion that must be used to buy an annuity. Unless it's very, very small, it's about 247,000 or something, then you can take a lump sum. And then in terms of resignation, just to remember, very importantly, the old rules and the old legislation and the formulas, etc., apply to the funds before 1 September 2024. So anything that's in your vested pot, the old regime still applies in respect to that. They didn't want to change the law retrospectively. A member still has full access to their retirement savings when they're resigning. This can be either taken as cash or transferred to another retirement fund. All right, so what happens in the case of divorce? Divorce orders will continue to be applied across the members' entire retirement savings. Right, you can read that there. And then lastly, in terms of tax immigrants, what happens when somebody leaves South Africa and moves to the UK or anywhere else? So when emigrating, okay, to get access to your retirement provision, you need to go through a tax residency change through the SARS process. That hasn't changed. But what has changed is that what you can access is the vested and the retirement pots through that process. The savings pots, the savings portion, you don't have to go through a tax residency change process to withdraw that. You can get that anytime. And remember, you're just going to pay tax at your marginal rate of tax. You've got to wait 3 years, of course. That changed in 2021, I think it was. You could, before then, you could just get your retirement savings straight away when you ceased your tax residency, but now you've got to wait 3 years from the date of departure. All right, so in summary, I just wanted to give you, this is a massive change. I've been in the financial services industry for many years. This is the biggest pension change in my lifetime that's happened. And I think it's come about, sadly, because people need access to their pension savings at times, and that's the reality. Quite contrasted to an environment such as Ireland, where I actually live and work. In Ireland, auto-enrollment is coming into being on the 1st of January next year, which simply means that if you're not in a formal pension scheme through your employer, come 1 January, you will be in a default government pension fund. So government sort of forcing companies to save and people to save more. Quite the opposite of what's happening in South Africa in terms of trying to access your money if you've got savings. But that's just the state of the nation and the state of the economy, I guess. All right, so that's our first topic that I wanted to share. And then just in summary, remember, if you do want to take any money out of your savings, just think long and hard about that because of the taxation. That's the tax that's payable at your marginal rate is quite penal. If you want more information, there's a QR code. You can just scan that. All this information was obtained from National Treasury's site. And they're the three pots, actually. That's why I've mentioned it should actually be the three-pot system, not the two-pot system. Anyway, so that was our first agenda item. The second agenda item, in fact, this is our standing anchor tenant. We call them Andy Fraser, who is based in the UK. He does our top tax tips session. He actually is away for quite a while at the moment. He hasn't been able to get to technology to give us some input on this month's session. Just to focus a little bit on discussion with him just via email. And I've just added just a couple of things I'm going to share on trusts just very, very quickly. Just to start with and just mention, there's a picture of Andy. But you're now seeing me, not Andy. This is just from the SARS website, just to say, just by way of introduction, trusts can be quite confusing, actually. Trusts, I believe, are about 200 years old. They started the concept of trusts around the world. But you get various types of trusts recognized in terms of the Trust Property Control Act in South Africa. This is from the SARS website. You get a ownership trust, you get a Bevint trust, you get an inter vivos trust, testamentary trust, vesting, discretionary, hybrid, all these different types of trusts. The distinction is really, really important, especially from a tax perspective, because let's take as an example a vesting trust. Trust, I'll just read the definition here. Trust where income, capital gains, or assets are vested to a beneficiary in terms of the trust. So vested means that they get it right away. They've got a right to it. Where discretionary trust is the quite the opposite. The beneficiaries don't have a right to it, and the trustees have a discretion in terms of how to apply it. So all these different types of trusts, I'm not going to go through. It's not a trust lesson. I just wanted to put up just to share that the impact of the differences actually impacts the way that they are taxed as well. But this is what I wanted to just, there have been quite significant changes around trusts in the UK and in South Africa, in fact, the last while. And it does depend. So if you are leaving South Africa for UK and you are connected to an SA trust, if you just look at that flow diagram, the first thing to look at is what's your role within the trust setup. Are you a settler or a donor? Are you the person that's giving funds into the trust? Are you a beneficiary? So are you one of the people that can benefit from the proceeds, either capital or income from the trust proceeds? And then are you either maybe both? You could be both. I'm not going to go through the detail there. This is one area very specifically where you need to get advice. If you have a trust and you are moving overseas or you're overseas, especially given the changes the last while, really important to go and get some input and some advice. And I think that's why Andy's probably highlighted this In fact, so our tagline for Howzit Expats, you can see on the top left of the screen there, is if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. Now, in the area of trusts, this is very, very true. If before you arrive in South Africa, you haven't done certain things and made certain changes if you needed to with trusts, then there's impacts and there can be taxation impacts. All right, so I'm going to leave it there. So this is just to raise awareness around trusts and the changes for South Africans and also some changes in the UK recently. Trusts are generally more under the spotlight. Many, many years ago, there could be loopholes with the way trusts are managed and set up, etc., etc. And I think all governments around the world and treasury regimes are looking more closely at trusts. All right, so that's just a whistle-stop tour on trusts and taxation and the changes that have been happening. And I'd like to welcome a company called UKD Apparel and Accessories. Now, this is a company, I've got a couple of pictures up here from their website. And our speaker tonight is Joanne Henry. And some lovely things. In fact, what caught my eye really, Joanne, were these lovely outfits, these little Springbok outfits for the little ones and the babies and everything else. But it seems like an amazing range. So how this works, have a quick countdown and we'll give 60 seconds to tell us about UKD and what they're doing there. So over to you, Joanne.
Hey guys, so thank you so much for having me. I'm Joanne and I run UKD Apparel and Accessories. You may have seen a lot of our ads and posts on Facebook. We mostly do supporter apparel, but we also do custom sublimated gear for sports teams and for businesses. We have our leggings with the cause. We've got a whole range on for the rhino conservation, and our supplier then donates a portion of every sale to rhino conservation in South Africa. So we love showing off. We love helping teams show off their style. So we give you something that's simple, affordable, and best of all, it's something that people actually want to wear. Like people are proud to wear your team's outfit. So thank you so much.
Excellent. Joanne, you made it well within 60 seconds there. Thank you very much for coming on. So we'd just like to encourage everybody to have a look at UKD, what Joanne and the team are doing there. So just to mention, we are very supportive at Howzit Expats of South African businesses specifically, expats involved in businesses. We want to give them airtime. We want to showcase what they're doing, and we want to create awareness around that. So Joanne, thanks for coming along. Thanks for donating some prizes as well. We appreciate that. All right, on to our second financial well-being topic tonight. Do South African policies pay out overseas? And what are the key differences? So this is a question in my role as a global financial coach that I get asked almost weekly, I'd say, talking to people that are moving across. And people that have got policies still in South Africa. So there's a very short answer and there's a very long answer to this specific question. So the very short answer is it depends. And I want to give you a bit of context and then I'll talk to you a little bit more about the longer answer. So just to mention three specific points in terms of this question. The first one is whatever insurance product you have bought or you have, what's important to realize is that that is an insurance contract that you have with the company. So you've agreed terms and conditions with the company. You give them a certain amount of money and they give you a benefit or the hope of a benefit in future. Quite long in the insurance industry. I don't think I have come across many people that read every single term and condition when they purchase an insurance product. Doesn't matter what kind of product it is. People don't really read them. But there would be conditions relating to what happens if you move and go and live overseas. What happens if you go on holiday overseas and are there for a very long time, as an example. So there are provisions that cover that and it would be in the contract. And that's why the short answer is it depends. The second point just to highlight is that different product providers. So when I say product providers in South African context, let's say Liberty, Momentum, Sanlam, PPS, Old Mutual, whoever they may be, different product providers can have different requirements and rules on similar products. They can have different periods, different provisions, different age limits, whatever it might be. And that's why it's so important actually to look at the specific terms and conditions with that product provider. You can't just make an assumption as to one company works in a certain way, everybody works in that same way. That's not quite like there would be some principles that they'd be that would be very generic, and that would be similar across the product providers. And then thirdly, even within the product providers, if you have a product that's similar across the industry, generally you can find similarities within those, but they might even be quite different as well. So, all right. So the long and the short of this slide really that I just wanted to alert everybody to is, if I get a query like this, generally to answer it conclusively, one needs to go and find out and have a look, but one can provide general feedback. As an example, are insurance companies in South Africa going to pay out life cover if you pass away in overseas? Generally, probably yes, because they know people go and live overseas. But you've got to go and check and be sure. All right, so that's really the long and the short. So I thought I'll bring along a couple of considerations just to think about in terms of why this can be complex and why it is a tricky area, actually. So you might need to be resident in South Africa for a policy to be valid and enforceable, and for a valid claim to be able to pay out on a claimable event or whatever you might be covered for. You might have to inform the insurer that you, normally in writing, that you have left, or that you're away, or you are going away. Okay, that might very well be the case. That often is the case. If the cover is still valid overseas, if the insurance policy is valid overseas, you might have to be really comfortable what the claims process and the payout process is going to be. Often with something like death certificates, for example, it might have to be 2 death certificates, one in South Africa as well, and one where you passed away overseas. Bank account requirements, insurance is there to get some money out at some point. If that insurable event happens, it's got to go and get paid somewhere. Normally that's into a South African bank account. Not everybody has a South African bank account anymore. When money's got to pass overseas and get paid from South Africa to overseas, there's exchange control, there are regulations, there are exchange rate issues. And then the grey area, not grey area, but the hairy area of tax, tax annual allowances, what's the tax residency of the person? Do double taxation agreements come into play on the kind of benefit? The payout, tax clearance is required, a lot there. And then some product providers actually have products that convert, and they design them in a way that if you move overseas, they actually can convert and still pay out. All right, so this is very broad, as you can see. This is really not a definitive answer at all. I've just attempted to give you a sense of we really need to go and check and look at all the terms and conditions or whatever you might have. And that's not a difficult process to do. The companies are quite good in answering these questions, because these questions are coming up all the time with more than 1 million people living and working overseas, South Africans. All right, so that's the end of that. I just wanted to highlight that this evening. And that wraps up the financial wellbeing topic. So let's move on to our second anchor topic. The first one was the top tax tips. The second one is the rerouting session, a really important session. This is brought to you by Colleen Quist. Now, Colleen Quist is a life coach in Johannesburg, and she's on our panel, and she does great work for us, talking about the transition and the changes for South Africans moving along that expat journey. And I think you've heard me before, if you've listened to some of the webinars, the kind of things one sees in Facebook sites, etc. As an example, we can really see many South Africans find it quite tough when they're overseas and need help and need support. All right, so I have a pre-recorded clip this evening from Colleen, and I'm going to play it now. So over to Colleen.
Howzit Expats? I'm Colleen Quist with Rerooting. Rerooting, as you know, is about us understanding that we can have roots in more than one country. We don't have to root them out. But what you're finding is that when you decide to move, and even when you've moved, you can see that you've gone through a major change. And with any major change comes big grief. Now, grief is quite strange. Grief doesn't work the same in all people. It's non-linear. It's not one of those tick the box exercises of, okay, we've done this, we've done this, we've done the net, and now we're done. It's very convoluted. As I said, it's not linear. It's quite messy. And it's even more complex because you find that when your family have all moved together, you can be at different stages. On one day, all four of you maybe could be in different stages. And even with yourself, where you think, okay, I've moved to acceptance now, I'm quite happy. You can wake up and have a day that's terrible and you wish that you hadn't left. So it's about understanding how to support each other and not, often the person who's been the biggest reason for moving, they often go off, they go to work, they go and involve, they get to see people, and maybe they integrate faster compared to somebody who stays at home, or somebody who doesn't integrate with lots of other people. And so it's just important to understand that it can be difficult for everybody, and that it's not, yes, we're doing a journey together, but we may do it at different rates, different paces. What you're seeing as well is that whole story before your new country becomes integrated, before you become, okay, I can miss South Africa, but I can love my new country. And so before you reach that integrated stage, and even when you reach that integrated stage, it doesn't mean that you're not going to have one of those days or moments or where you feel, where you can just cry, or you go, oh no, this was the wrong choice. So I'm sure that many of you recognize that and how difficult it's been. I have seen with some families where, one person has been very happy and has integrated easily and quickly into the new country, and the family have said, no ways, we're going back. And they have actually gone back. So it's really about understanding that we need empathy for each other. Of course, we need empathy for ourselves too. Of just seeing that changing country is not easy. Whether you are leaving South Africa, whether you're thinking about coming back to South Africa, or you could actually be hugely happy there on most days. It's not easy. It's also important to see as well that we have unique journeys, and that although it's important that we share our lived experience of how it feels, that we need to understand that our lived experience is not somebody else's lived experience. So it's not a copy paste of, oh, come on now, by the time you get 3 months in, or by the time you do this, or that you will have reached a specific stage. Because people are very different. They are unique. And so you have a unique lived experience. And it's important that when you share your unique lived experience, that you understand that people may find similarities in it, but it's not going to be the same. So reminding you all out there that you are loved, you matter, and you're not alone. And we'll see you all next time.
It's always good to hear from Colleen. So we'll move on with our agenda this evening. Our next topic is the next 60-second slot. And we have Brendon Berg with us, who's going to tell us, I think, about the big Bristol Braai, Rugby and Jive. I took a little bit of info off the Facebook site here, Brendon. I can see a lot of things happening there. Quite an active community there, which is fantastic to see. A lot of great pictures. Everybody just, as it says, just come along and care. So we'll just have a quick countdown here, Brendon, and then on 60 seconds, it's over to you. Thanks, Brendon.
Hi guys, my name is Brendon. I run the Facebook group South Africans Living in Bristol, not to be confused with a different group called South Africans in Bristol and Southwest England. When I came to live in England about 20 years ago, I realized there weren't a lot of events getting Southern Africans together. So I started a small event, and eventually it's become a lot bigger. I now work with a team of guys living in Bristol, and we constantly get people together, Zimbabwean, South Africans together, and the normal format is to have a braai, we watch the rugby together, and then have a dance afterwards as well. So we'd love you to come along and join us for the next one, which is on the 27th of September. You can see the details on the South Africans Living in Bristol page. It'll be in North Bristol at Almondsbury Creative. And bring some friends, bring people from different ethnicities and cultures as well, because we'd love to show off what South Africans are all about.
Great. Brendon, thank you very much. I hope some of you can make it. It sounds like a lot of fun. And just to mention as well, on our Howzit United Kingdom website, we have an events page. Please, if you have anything happening with South African related, I see actually you include Zimbabweans as well, Brendon. That's also fine. You can include it as events on our website. So please do make use of that. Thanks, Brendon, for coming along. We hope to see you at one event quite soon. All right, so on to our final agenda item for today's webinar is our Ubuntu session. Our Ubuntu session is all around cultural integration, and here we try and speak to locals either or South Africans that have been in the local community for a very long time. And this evening we have the pleasure of hearing from Andy Cops, who has been in the UK for a very long time. He's going to tell you about himself and a couple of stories. So Andy, thank you very much. Over to you.
So hello everyone, and I must say a big thank you to Lamont and to Tracy for inviting me to come along and have a chat with you guys. So my name is Andrew Coppen. I also have a stage name, Andy Cops. I work in performance theatre, and I also work with schools in oral literacy development. My website is andycops.com if you want to take a look there as well. I've also got behind me on this wonderful banner, I've got my QR code for my LinkedIn URL, so you can connect with me on LinkedIn as well. So I moved to the UK with my wife in 2001. We've been here 24 years. I trained as a chartered accountant, and we first moved across to live in Putney. Probably would people would say with all the other South Africans, but one of the things and one of the reasons we moved over to Putney was because my cousin lived in that area, that part of London. And I would say to anybody that is looking to come across, if you can base yourself around people you know, it certainly does help, especially in the early stages of integrating into a new country. And one of the things that another reason why we were in London is because my wife was working in central London, so that was one of the draws. She had a job and we were coming to London. I didn't, but as a chartered accountant, we're very fortunate that I started working for Sony within the first couple of weeks, and it was actually through that I started to meet and integrate with people from all around the world. And now I would say this is something that is a common theme in conversations I have with so many people that move over to the UK, is that you are going to work and integrate with people from all over the world, and that diverse mix makes it truly special. And I've got friends from North and South America, from Asia, from the Middle East, and I don't think I would have had that opportunity if I was still living in South Africa. Now, of course, I haven't forgotten my South African roots. I still have family in South Africa, and I do enjoy still integrating and attending South African events. More recently, I just attended Zambezi Fest, which is a big celebration for South Africans and Zimbabweans living in the UK. Now, I want to just break this up into 3 sections. So I know I don't have a lot of time, but thinking about family. So my wife and I, we had 3 children. 2 one's at university, one's finished university, and one is in final year at school. I would say Claire and I, we decided that we wanted to be very hands-on with our parenting style. That came with its challenges. And one of the things that best advice I can give you is, especially if you are in a relationship, is keep the conversation going. None of us are mind readers, so please keep chatting to each other. And I would say the same for your children as well. Having a home where everyone feels safe, that they can speak, it certainly does help. Especially from a mental health point of view. We also try to do as much as we can outside, so doing a lot of outdoor stuff as a family. Of course, it doesn't always work, but being outside does wonderful things for your soul. And Billy Connolly said, there's no such thing as bad weather, it's just bad clothing. So think about investing in a really good winter jacket, a really good raincoat to make sure that you are protected from the elements. From a social point of view, there is this perception that English people are very reserved and may come across rude. I think there's a wonderful way to integrate into the British communities is through things like church. You could join a church. Well, if you are religious in any shape or form, whatever your religious organization is, joining the community that way. You could attend local community groups like Rotary or Women's Institute. And then, of course, there's the sports clubs, which is often a very nice way of meeting people from all around. And something that my wife and I have done is also we've been a big part of the Scouts Association. So if you have experience being involved in Scouts or Girl Guarding, that's another wonderful way where you can volunteer. And of course, that leads quite nicely onto looking for voluntary opportunities where you can go and support and help a charity. So a lovely way of getting to know people within your community. And then lastly, I just wanted to say from a work point of view, I tend, and I can speak from my own personal experience, I tend to be a very direct person, very candid, and I've got a very dry, sarcastic sense of humor. You're going to find you're going to be working with people from all around the world, and your sense of humor may not be interpreted correctly, and there might be, confusion, misinterpretation, call it what you want. So I learned very quickly that you need to think before you speak. So that's just a whistle-stop tour of my 24 years living in the UK. I hope that's of some use. But if you want to connect with me on LinkedIn, please do, and throw me any questions you may have. But use this community. Please do use this community to help you in any way you need. All right. Thank you.
That Ubuntu session. Thanks for sharing your 24 years experience in the UK. We really appreciated that. So moving on, just finalizing the agenda then for this evening, just to say we'd love for you to join our community in the UK. It has a lot of benefits to it, a lot of webinars, a lot of events. You can pay monthly, you can pay annually, and a lot of information on the website. So let's get to the serious part of the evening, which was our lucky draw. So there are 8 prizes over there. The first draw we'll just spin this wheel twice. And the first spin will be for the person who wins, and then we will do another spin, and that is the prize that person wins. All right, so we'll get off straight to the draw, just who wins a prize. Okay, so that is winner number 7. Just to check the prize. Let's see what prize it is. Prize number 1. All right, so I can't quite confirm who that is just yet. I can't see who's got that, but we will confirm the name of the person shortly. So congratulations on your prize. Howzit Expats is about to go live in Australia. In fact, the website's up already. We haven't formally launched. Then we'll be in Ireland, Howzit United Kingdom, and Howzit Australia, where we'll be doing webinars such as these and other events to start off with. We have got quite a few plans in the pipeline, which you'll hear about in the next couple of weeks and months to support South Africans all around the world. We are quite close to our hearts, rather, is financial education for kids. And you're going to start seeing some videos posted, very short financial education videos for children. They're actually all AI created. So we're trying to be a little bit creative around teaching children in a very easy sort of non-formal way around the essence of financial planning, etc. So if you enjoyed the webinar, please tell your friends for next time. Follow us on our social media. We're quite active. We're getting more on Facebook and LinkedIn, etc. We've got quite a few campaigns launched. I thought I'll just tell you about this. In fact, if you're in the UK, you might not have heard about Uncle Bok. If you're in Ireland, you certainly would have. If you're in Northern Ireland, you probably have too. But we have a campaign. If you order anything from Uncle Bok, as from Monday, you'll see a little brochure that looks like that in the middle there, welcoming you to Uncle Bok and also to Howzit Expats. And on the back of the brochure, which I haven't shared because we'd like you to order from Uncle Bok, you can find out what you need to do to win that fantastic book by Ilse van der Merwe on the right there, 101 Iconic Dishes. I have it right next to me here on the table. Really nice book. So if you want to win that, we were very recently at the South African gathering in Ireland. We had a store there. And in fact, I think some of the folk on tonight, Connie's here, I see, and Audrey, they were there as well. Gave away some fantastic prizes. Had a lot of fun there. There's some of the winners. In fact, we had more than 600 spins of that Shawsha wheel that you've just seen on Saturday. Another exciting campaign we are about to launch on Monday is Cake Sisters. Serene has a lovely business in Ireland here, out of Northern Ireland, but traverses the whole of Ireland. And in fact, if you order anything from her, you're going to get 3 vouchers for £50 off your next order for Howzit Expat members. All right, so that's coming your way. And we've got exact same campaign that's launching this week. The vouchers have just arrived with Michelle Ebden from Ebden Eats in the UK there. So if you order anything from Ebden Eats, you'll get a little voucher that looks like that, sharing the love. 3 £50 vouchers off, one for yourself and one for 2 other friends. If you order £50 of milk tart, you will get it for free for Howzit Expat members. All right, so we have a couple of campaigns running. I wanted to say thank you for coming this evening, for your attention. Thank you to our sponsors. Thank you to our presenters. And we will see you on the 15th of October. This won't be a live session then. It will just be published on the 15th of October, and you'll be able to pick it up on our website. So thank you very much. Have a great evening, everybody. Cheerio.